Hello, this is PG, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Final Fantasy XV Royal Edition. The game is available on PC and all major consoles. Final Fantasy XV is an action role-playing game developed by Square Enix. You play as Noctis, the heir to the Lucian throne, as you and your pals go on a road trip through a fantasy world. Okay, gameplay. Well, as I said, you play as a group of guys on a road trip in a car. You play as the prince, and you and your buddies get involved in main and side activities. The biggest change in this game to the previous Final Fantasies that I've played is that the combat is live action as opposed to the old turn-based style. But does that work? Well, it does and it doesn't. It does in that it makes the combat more fast-paced and entertaining, yes, but no, it doesn't, as these sections are often chaotic, messy, and they're just muddled and confused. You can switch weapons mid-combat, you can dash from a distance to get a vantage point, you can team up with your allies, but again, it doesn't quite feel right for anyone who has played the older Final Fantasy games. Now let's talk about the main group of characters. You play as the prince and you're accompanied by an annoying photographer, a driver who acts like your mum, and a big strapping beefcake bodyguard. All the characters are a bit cliched and they lack any real depth of character. It all leads to one of the least interesting groups that I can remember in a game. Also, they never shut up chatting a load of rubbish, whether you're in the autopilot car, walking around the world, or even in combat. Nowhere is safe.
So, what you doing?
Nothing much. Just chilling.
Cool.
Now each of these dudes has a unique skill like cooking, fishing or photography. Oh, how useful. You can manage all their loadouts, their outfits, their perks, etc. But I'd say it's really hard to care about any of these characters aside from the dog. The dog is my buddy. The dog can stay, the rest can fuck off. Anyway, the story revolves around a royal family, an heir to the throne, and a usual, fantasy storyline nonsense. But anyway, what about the actual game world that it takes place in? Well, it's a large open area, and it does feel strange, I have to say. Like, some games you play, like let's say Dark Souls, for example, they've got game worlds that do feel organic, lived in, they feel like they make sense. The world in Final Fantasy XV feels like a collage of random places that have been stuck together for almost no reason at all. There's no continuity, there's no consistency, and it makes the journey through the pretty locations feel like random and pointless activities. Thankfully, you can fast travel or use your car, but the car, that's another aspect of the game that really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. For the most part, not always, but for the most part, you can't even drive it properly. It's almost like on rails. Why would you have a car in a game that you can't drive properly? It's baffling, isn't it? Anyway, due to the size of the game and the world, you'll need to take breaks as a group. So how do you do this? You go to towns, you go to camping. Here you can train some stuff to improve. You can get your resident chef, aka the mum of the group, to cook you up a nice supper, and that will give you buffs for the next day. But on the whole, my overarching feeling toward the game is muddled. That's how the game feels. It doesn't really know what it is. Is it a JRPG? Is it a low-rent American-inspired road trip? It just ends up being neither, and it has to be the most disappointing Final Fantasy that I've ever played. Also, for a large open world, it feels remarkably empty, and it lacks the free style to explore, with so many irritating things that hinder you. Finally, on gameplay, this Royal Edition features all the DLC, and there's lots of it. You get 3 expansion episodes for your travel buddies. They're solid, they're not amazing, but if you want more, you can have it. There's a first person mode, you've got new skins for your car, they're pretty good. Weapons, they're quite helpful early on. There's an angler set, a camera kit, a travel pack, a booster pack, access to another game where you create your own character and go on an adventure with the characters from the base game. I didn't play that. Anyway, that's a lot, right? But is it really worth the extra money? Personally, no. even though there's a lot of stuff there, I can't say any of that stuff made the game any better. Like, if you're an absolute diehard, completion is fine, but I think most people are going to get bored of the main game after about 2/4, 3/4 of it, because it's quite tedious, I have to say. In terms of graphics, it's a solid looking world with nice characters, good costumes, slick and polished, menus are well presented. Can the same be said for the audio? Well, the music is very odd. It's like they bought it on pond5.com for like, oh, cheesy village music or cheesy American outback music, you know. And the voice acting is a bit like, there's good voice actors, and then there's characters who you hear the voices in English and you think, who on earth cast this voice actor as this character? Unbelievable. Listen to this.
According to my sources, the Empire given strict orders not to let any vessels leave the docks of Altissia. Real shame if you were late to your own wedding, right, Prince Noctis?
Anyway, verdict. Final Fantasy XV Royal Edition is a good value for money package, but sadly, the overall experience can be summed up in one word. Bland. The core game lacks charm. It lacks quality in terms of like the story. The characters are weak, and it's just a struggle to engage with. Also, the combat never felt right to me in the kind of more action-orientated style. The game world was a chore to explore, and the characters in the group, it's just a poorly balanced ensemble with one-dimensional characters. But you know, is the game a complete disaster? I'd say no, it's not a complete disaster. But when I think about how I started in Final Fantasy with the 7th installment, this 15th game in the series, it's completely lost its way, and it just felt like the developers had forgot what Final Fantasy really is. Anyway, let's score it. Scoring Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition. I'd give it 6 out of 10. Pretty average. Anyway, that's the review. Thank you for watching. This is PG signing off. Cheers.